what happened to the family of Cain. Instead of a great start, his life and descendants would be filled with tragedy, curses, and murder. Most people are taken back when they learn that the Bible contains several examples of curses. After the fall of man, Adam, Eve, and the snake were put under a curse. Then Eve gave birth to her sons. Genesis 4:1, New King James Version. Now Adam knew Eve his wife, and she convinced and bore Cain and said, I have acquired a man from the Lord. Adam knew Eve his wife in the sense that he had intimate relations with her. When Cain was born, she acknowledged that his birth was only by the Lord's enablement. In naming him Cain, acquisition, Eve may have thought she had given birth to the promised seed. Eve most likely believed that Cain was the seed God had promised, the deliverer who would come from Eve after God cursed the serpent. Eve may have believed that she was holding in her arms the Messiah, the one who would save the entire world. But in reality, she was holding a murderer in her arms. Abel brought an offering of blood, the firstborn of his flock, and Cain brought an offering of vegetation, the fruit of the ground. Genesis 4:6-9, New King James Version. So the Lord said to Cain, Why are you angry, and why has your countenance fallen? If you do well, will you not be accepted? And if you do not do well, sin lies at the door. And its desire is for you, but you should rule over it. Now Cain talked with Abel his brother, and it came to pass when they were in the field, that Cain rose up against Abel his brother and killed him. Then the Lord said to Cain, Where is Abel your brother? He said, I do not know. Am I my brother's keeper? God says, Where is Abel your brother? God knew the answer to this question, and he asked Cain because he wanted to allow him to confess his sin and start to do right after doing wrong. Cain's attempt to deceive God was completely fruitless. It was absolute lunacy on his part to believe that God was unaware of Abel's whereabouts, or that he could conceal his sin from God in any way. Cain says, Am I my brother's keeper? This reply of Cain is famous. The fact is that he was supposed to be his brother's keeper, but instead he was his brother's murderer, and he murdered him for the most base of reasons. He slayed his brother because he was jealous of his brother's success. Cain had suffered no harm at all at the hands of Abel. Cain's murderous rage was inspired purely by spiritual jealousy. Jude 11 warns of the way of Cain, which is unbelief, empty religion leading to jealousy, persecution of those truly godly, and murderous anger. God's curse upon Cain. Genesis 4:10-12, New King James Version. And he said, What have you done? The voice of your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground. So now you are cursed from the earth, which has opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. When you till the ground, it shall no longer yield its strength to you. A fugitive and a vagabond you shall be on the earth. Cain's evil attitude of jealous rage was soon translated into hostile action, the murder of his brother. Though Abel is dead, he still tells us that the life of faith is the life that counts. Hebrews 11:4. By faith Abel offered to God a more excellent sacrifice than Cain, through which he obtained witness that he was righteous, God testifying of his gifts, and through it being dead still speaks. When an unrepentant, insolent reply met the Lord's loving question, he pronounced Cain's judgment. He would no longer be able to make a living from the soil, but would wander as a fugitive in the desert. The blood of Abel spoke, and it spoke of judgment. The blood of Jesus speaks, but of better things, of grace and of sin having been judged. Hebrews 12:24. To the Bible, once again, we must look for a correct understanding of these laws. In Proverbs 26:2, Solomon establishes this principle concerning curses. A curse without cause shall not alight. Behind every curse there is a cause. Proverbs 26:2. Like the sparrow in her wandering, like the swallow in her flying, so the curse without cause does not come and alight on the undeserving. Genesis 4:13-15, New King James Version. And Cain said to the Lord, "My punishment is greater than I can bear. Surely you have driven me out this day from the face of the ground. I shall be hidden from your face. I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond on the earth, and it will happen that anyone who finds me will kill me." And the Lord said to him, "Therefore whoever kills Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold." And the Lord set a mark on Cain, lest anyone finding him should kill him. Cain's whimpering complaint reveals remorse for the consequences of his sin, rather than for its guilt. But even then the Lord allayed the fugitive's fear for his life by putting a protective mark on Cain, and a curse on anyone who killed him. Cain went out from the presence of the Lord, the saddest of all departures. As a result, God branded Cain with a sign that would identify him and serve as a safeguard. Nobody knows what this mark on Cain was, even though various people have speculated about it. The nature of the mark on Cain has been the subject of much debate and speculation. The Hebrew word translated mark is oath and refers to a mark, sign, or token. Elsewhere in the Hebrew scriptures, oath is used 79 times and is most frequently translated as sign. So the Hebrew word does not identify the exact nature of God's mark on Cain. Whatever it was a sign or indicator that Cain was not to be killed. Some people believe the mark was a scar or a tattoo on the individual's body. In any event, the specific nature of the mark is not the primary focus of the passage. The focus is that God would not allow people to exact revenge against Cain. Whatever the mark on Cain was, it served this purpose. The suffering of Cain, the firstborn son, is a pattern that repeats itself, starting from his father Adam to Esau and Ishmael.